or do you have anything you want to cover? I can go over anything pretty much, just basically whatever you need help with.
Okay.
Cover everything.
Okay, what I'm finding, one of the things that I'm finding is when I use the trading view versus when I enter it onto the MT4, there seems to be a difference in the time. I find it might be a big of a gap. I'm not sure. I know the first time you told me the candles that I was using was an issue. So I don't know if you could go through the setups of the indicators because I just want to make sure that I have everything.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go through. So
Okay.
basically, let me go into a clean chart. Well, let's go to a random pair like USD. Is there like a specific strategy that you like to use, something that you want to, focus on, or do you want me to show you each indicator one by one?
Well, I was doing the scalping and that has not worked out at all for me. At all, at all, at all, at all. So then I switched to just the intraday trading, and that seems to work a bit better for me. But the scalping thing is just not working for me at all. I don't know what settings I have wrong. I don't know. I've gone through like the the online demonstrations that you have. I've gone through them like 5 times. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. No, that's fine. We can go over that as well. So we can start off
Okay.
with the intraday. I'll just go over each
Okay.
indicator. So
Okay.
so the first indicator that we'll go over would be
Mm-hmm.
the K2 momentum indicator. So I'm sure you're aware, you know how this works. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
each vertical line is going to indicate the direction of momentum. So if we have
Right.
green, if it's a green with a green candle, then obviously momentum is going to swing up. If
Right.
it's a red with a red
So,
candle, it's a sell. But
right.
depending on the direction of the trend,
Mm-hmm.
that can be either a retracement or just a
Mm.
pullback instead of
Okay.
actual momentum swing in that direction.
Right.
So that would be the first one. The next indicator would be the K2SR indicator, the first one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure you're aware how this works as well. Basically it just plots the support and resistance on the chart for you. And
Mm-hmm.
then as it moves, it'll automatically adjust.
Right.
Um, and then the next indicator would be the K2SR version 2. So this is
Mm-hmm.
pretty much the same thing. The only difference is that instead of just plotting, the nearest support resistance, what it does is it plots, multiple points on the chart for you. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of just identifying, the closest support resistance, which would probably be right here and right here,
Mm-hmm.
you'll know exactly where it's tested in the past.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
So after that, the next indicator would be, let's go over to the trend meter. So if you're familiar with the trend meter down
Yep.
here, um, yeah, so this is one thing that you can play around with. I mean, depending on how you're trading it. But
Oh,
I
okay.
generally like to leave it on the intraday settings. So if you have it on the intraday settings, it's
Mm-hmm.
normally set to the 30-minute, 1 hour, 2 hour, and 4 hour. So that basically
Okay.
gives you, the trend for these specific time frames. So obviously, if you're trading intraday, you want to be in a trade for a few hours, not an entire
Mm-hmm.
day. So these would be good because you'll know, your entry point, which would usually be 30 minutes.
Right.
You'll know the trend would be, 4 hours later because generally you
Mm-hmm.
want to be in and out of that trade within a couple hours. You don't want to be in it, a whole day or a week or so.
Right.
But if you wanted to, trade longer, you can always
You can
change it.
always just change it.
Exactly. Or if you wanted to trade shorter, you can also change it to the short time frames as well.
Okay.
So that's the trend meter. And then, lastly, the newest indicator, which would be the K2 pivots.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty self-explanatory. So basically,
The
if
barrier.
it's above, it's trending up with prices
Mm-hmm.
below. Or if it's just crossing like this, it could be like, a temporary pullback. But if it's crossing heavily, like somewhere like right here, where it's crossing and then, the pivots start to spread out how they are in the other direction normally, then you can classify that as a downtrend.
Okay.
Um, so is there a strategy that you're having, trouble with so we can maybe work on that? Or is there something?
Scalping.
Okay, so scalping. So
Yep.
basically scalping, which strategy are you using? Are you using the momentum strategy or are you using the pivot strategy?
I was using the pivot strategy.
Okay, perfect. So let's go to is there a specific time frame you were trading it on?
I was doing the 10 and the 15.
Okay, cool. So we'll go on the 10 here. So right here, we'll just go to where price currently is, right here, and we'll turn on the momentum indicator. So if you're using the strategy, Obviously you only need 2 indicators here. So I'll
Right.
just put the requirements here again, just for us to remember. So this is the K2 pivots scalping strategy.
I have a quick question for you. You don't use the trend meter for this one?
No, it's just going to be
Oh,
2 indicators.
okay.
I mean, you could use the trend meter if you want to have extra confirmation. So,
Okay.
if they all line up, like how
Mm,
here it's red and it's also if it's
mm-hmm.
trending down on the pivots plus it's trending down on the trend meter, then that
Right.
better confirmation. You're like, okay, this is for sure going to be coming down because the
Okay.
trend is confirmed on the bigger time frame because
Mhm.
it's 4 time frames down here, but it's also trending down on the 10 minute as well.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, so it's not
Oh,
required, but you could use. I
right.
know a lot of people do use it, so it does
Hmm.
help, but
Okay.
it's not required because the thing is, if you add too many requirements, then you're gonna
Hmm.
miss entries because it's gonna prevent you from wanting to enter trades if not everything lines up.
Okay.
Yeah, but technically you don't really need this here.
Okay. Fine.
The more important one would probably be the K2SR
Hmm.
for confirmation because this will just give you an understanding. So we'll go back and look at this entry here because I can see that this is a bad entry.
Hmm.
We'll go back and look at that, but we'll go from like the start to we'll just move backwards with it so that
Okay.
we can see how this plays out. But okay, so I'll just put the requirements here just so we have a reminder of what we're looking for here, and then we'll break it down. So the first requirement is to identify the trend via the K2 pivots. Next, we'll identify uh, tracement pullback.
Placement. Mhm.
Then third, identify rejection of K2 pivots area. And then lastly, identify valid K2 signal. And then once those are all met, you can enter on the open following candle. So that's pretty much it. Um, so yeah, first we'll start with this trade right here, since this is
Mhm.
one of the valid entries. So basically, we're going to identify the trend. Looking at the K2 pivots. In order to identify the trend, you want to make sure that the candles are below the pivots. The pivots
Mhm.
are angling the same direction and they're spread out.
Mhm.
It's self-explanatory. So right here, you can see that they're kind of crossed up, but you can just look back, at the previous movement back here. That price is trending down. Um,
Right.
the thing with scalping is that you can't base um, your trend off where price currently is, like right here,
Mhm.
because the thing with let me just change this, because the problem with identifying it right here is that
Mhm.
when you're trading on the shorter time frames, it's not enough time for you to identify the trend, because when you're
Mhm.
trading on the shorter time frames, you're going to see that it crosses over a lot
Oh,
most of the time.
right.
Yeah, most of the time it's not going to be spread out. You have to kind of look a little farther back, maybe an hour, 2 hours back, because
Okay.
you can see right here, if you just time this is only about 2 hours, but
Mhm.
obviously previously during the day it was trending down.
Down. Right.
Yeah. So right here, we can just justify that it's trending down because it was trending down previously throughout the day.
Mhm.
So the first requirement was met here. We've identified that the price is trending downwards. Next,
Mhm.
we want to identify retracement. So you can see right here, price was trending down pretty strongly. Let me see this. You can see that price is trending down pretty strong right here. So
Mhm.
as price came down, it established a low right here because price stopped
Right.
going down. So right here, price
Mhm.
came down and then it retraced or pulled back from this area. So you can see price was attempting to break. And then once it
Mhm.
hit this area right here, it just started to retrace upwards. So this would be the second requirement. The second requirement was that we identified a retracement pullback from the current movement downward.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
So that's number two. And then for the third requirement, you want to identify a rejection of the K2 pivots area. So basically, you're basically identifying the same thing. So right here, you identified a rejection going
Mhm.
opposite direction. For number three, you want to identify a rejection going back to the correct direction. So right here, you can see that this is the high. So basically what happened here was price was going down, then
Mm-hmm.
it retraced,
Trace.
and then it
Then
rejected off this
rejected.
point right here. So it rejected off
Right.
this point. Last requirement, identify a valid K2 signal. So
Mm-hmm.
right here we have a valid sell signal since it's red
Mm-hmm.
and it has a red candle. So if we take all this off the chart, we can use the last requirement, enter on the open of the following candle. So you can
Right.
enter right over here, and then your stop loss would be at the previous swing, which would
Okay.
be right here because you can see
Mm.
price swings down, swings up, and then swings back down.
Right.
So this could be, I mean, it doesn't have to be this specific price point because the swing can be very subjective. It can be here, or it can be here, or it can,
Mm-hmm.
it really depends on you, um,
Okay.
on your risk. If you're trying to scalp it very quickly, then obviously you want
Mm.
to put it pretty close. But if you
Okay.
want to go for a bigger move, you can also put it up here. It's only 20 pips. And then even further, way up here for 35 pips.
Okay.
So, just for, demonstrational purposes, I think this is a little too close because
Right.
generally the spread is about, depending on your broker, it'll probably be, 1 to maybe 5 pips sometimes, depending on when you're
Mm-hmm.
trading. So the problem with this right here is if you only have 8 pips as your stop loss, you have to add 5 on top of that. So when you enter
Right.
this trade, you're going to be in a loss already. So that gives you only a very small cushion for you to,
Ah.
survive this trade if that's
Mm.
the case. So in this situation, I would probably put it up here,
Okay.
which is about 19 pips. So
Okay.
we'll do that 19, 19, both directions. And then that's pretty much it. And then you pretty much let it run. And then you can see right there that
Right.
it's about to hit full TP. Um, and then when you want to adjust your stop loss, if you're using the pivots, instead of putting your stop loss at, the halfway mark, how we normally do it,
Mm-hmm.
I like to use the pivots instead. So instead of putting your stop loss at the halfway mark,
Mm-hmm.
generally as price moves down, so I'm just going to rewind it back. So as price moves down, if I see a nice movement down like this, then I'll move my stop loss to, break even. And
Right.
then,
Okay.
or not break even. So actually,
Half
I,
of
I
the
would move
stop
it.
loss.
Yeah, I would move the stop loss to where the pivots are. So you can see out here where the farthest pivot is.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, so I usually trail it with either the last pivot or the second to the last. So that would be either
Okay.
the red or the orange. So as price comes down, I'll just trail it. So I'll move the stop loss with it as it comes down. So you can
Mhm.
maximize your profits because
Right.
if if price ends up swinging up, to right here, then you'll get stopped out, no profit. But if you
Mm-hmm.
have it, far enough, you can just keep trailing it down. So
Training
as
it down.
price,
Right.
yeah, exactly. And as price continues to move down,
Just
you
keep
can just,
trailing.
yeah, exactly. And you can maximize your profits that way, or you can
Okay.
close out and profit as well. It just really depends on you personally. Because the thing is, I could teach you as many things as possible, but
It's whatever I'm comfortable with.
exactly, yeah, it's whatever you're comfortable with risking, and depending on your trade personality.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like to take very much risk, then maybe you'll move your stop loss to the closer pivot.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
but it just really depends. The
Right.
more and more you practice and the more and more you actually apply it, you'll figure out what you like and what you're comfortable with. Because the
Right.
last thing you want to do is to be nervous about your trade. You want to be confident 100%.
Yep.
Because when you're nervous, then that's when you make mistakes.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how everybody is. It's nothing new.
Yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, so this is a one entry right here. Another, we could go back to this scalp entry right here as well. Same situation again. So we're going to identify the trend. Obviously, price
Okay.
is trending down. Next, you want to identify a retracement pullback. So obviously, right here, price was coming down, and
Mm-hmm.
once it hit this low right here, it retraced up. So this is the retracement right here, or this can be the retracement down here as well. So this could be, the retracement if you want to count it all the way from the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
or this can be a retracement here as well because price came down, came up, and came back down. So as it came
Right.
in right here, this could have been the retracement.
Mm-hmm.
It just really depends on how you identify it. We'll go
Okay.
back and look at this trade as well because this is another entry, but we'll
Okay.
start with this for now. So requirement 1, price is turning down. Requirement 2, retracement. Requirement 3,
Mm-hmm.
rejection off this top point right here. Same situation, rejection right there. So as it rejected, it came back down. And then we identified a valid K2 signal right here, obviously. So we can enter another short position right here. And, like I mentioned, this could be your stop loss here, but like I mentioned, it's a little too close. It's,
Right, give
11
it a
pips.
little more
So,
cushion.
yeah. So you kind of want to move it maybe up here
Okay.
to, maybe 27 pips. So we can change that to, and that's one problem that a lot of people have. They don't factor in the spread. Sometimes,
It's so funny you say that because I'm sitting here and I'm like, that is like 80% of the problem.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
that was a problem with me too, because the problem is you don't want to take too much risks. You want to put your stop loss
Right.
close. But in reality, if you would have put it up here, you would have never gotten stopped out in that situation.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so funny because
Yeah.
I'm thinking back of some of the ones that actually went into profits, and I'm like, it keeps closing out so early, no matter how much I think I've done my stop loss and my take profit. I'm like, this just isn't making any sense. So I never even thought about including factoring the spread. Never even thought of it.
Yeah, and that's how the brokers get you. The brokers, that's how
Mm,
they trick you, because the thing is, you think that this is a lot of space here, but in reality, it's not that much.
it's
Because
not exactly.
exactly, yeah, because my spread, I have a special account, so my spread is like almost zero for your USD. Uh,
Mm,
but for a normal account, the spread's probably going to be 3 or 5 pips. It's not going to be
right.
close. And that's how they trick a lot of new traders, because a lot of new traders, when they don't realize that they're supposed to add on to this
Yep.
specific area. And you can put it here as well, but the thing is, you just have to remember to add the spread. So you'll have
Right.
the stop loss there, about 12 pips, and then you'll just add on 5 pips just to cover the
The
spread.
spread.
So if price was to reach this specific area right here, you wouldn't get stopped out. But if your stop
Right.
loss was here, you'll get stopped out when you're right here, because they count the spread.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's how a lot of people sometimes they take the signals and they're like, how did you guys make it not get stopped out? And it's because my spread is so tight.
Right.
But for other people, they have, sometimes it's a high spread, sometimes maybe it's 10 pips, depending on what you're trading. So that's something to definitely take into consideration,
Mm,
moving forward, because that's something that actually was my problem a long time ago, um,
mm-hmm.
until I realized, because I didn't have any mentor, nobody to teach me, so it was all basically trial and error on my part.
Wow. That's awesome though.
Yeah, but it's good, because I learned all the bad things, so like
Yeah.
how to not trade, so that now I can teach people and I understand
Right.
the whole concept behind all of it. Yeah, but yeah, so if you put your stop loss over here, it makes a huge difference versus to putting it right here. Because the
Mm,
thing is, your stop loss is fine up here, because you're going to adjust your stop loss anyways. The thing a lot of people don't realize is that we're not leaving the stop loss here forever. Once price moves down, so if you let this run down like this, like I
just
mentioned
move it.
earlier, I move it with the pivots, because the pivots are dynamic. They move with price. So
Right.
price continues to move down, I just continue to move the stop loss until it, reaches break even.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, your stop loss just follows it down. So as it,
Ah, okay. I see. Yeah. Got it.
because you can see the pivots move down as well, right?
Yeah.
As they move down, you just keep moving the
Mm,
stop loss with it. And then this way you can maximize your profits.
yeah.
So if you just,
Huh.
yeah. So like right here, you would have gotten stopped out in profit. Or if you did, what we normally do, or we put our stop loss at 50%.
50% and 25% and 75%.
Exactly. If you did
Right.
that, then you would have gotten stopped out, a little bit closer. But it just, like I mentioned earlier, it depends on your risk
Mm,
profile, depending on how you feel. You just want to be comfortable with your trading.
right.
Because as you gain knowledge and you gain experience, your risk appetite's going to grow. So, you're not going to be more as nervous moving your
Mm-hmm.
stop loss so often versus how you are when you started. Because, for me,
Right.
I've been trading for like 10 years now. So
Mm-hmm.
when I hit stop loss, it's like, okay, I know I hit stop loss for, whatever reason, but it's fine,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that, the next couple trades I'll make it back.
Okay.
Yeah. So, there goes another entry right there. This entry
Mm-hmm.
right here, it would have looked like a bad entry, but the thing is, if you know, did what I mentioned earlier, where you put it at the previous swing, because the problem with the swing here, so this is another entry right here, and I'll delete these right here. So the thing is, a lot of people will think that this is the the swing right here, which it is.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, this is the swing because it swings down, then it swings up.
Mm-hmm.
But like I mentioned, the swing here is still close. It's only 8 pips. So if
Right.
your
Spread is 5.
spread is 5 pips, you're gonna get stopped out almost as
Yeah.
soon as you enter this trade. But if you put it up here,
Yep.
about 30 pips, it seems like a big risk, 30 pips, but it's the whole mindset thing.
Right.
A lot of people don't want to risk 30 pips because they think 30 pips is a lot. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to risk a lot of pips, just take a smaller lot size. It
Right.
doesn't matter if, because a lot of people, they want to take the huge lot size and they want to just make a quick profit. But
Mm-hmm.
if you just do things properly, it'll be a lot. You'll make smaller profits, but instead of losing, you make at least some profit there.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, and then same situation right here. See, as price, you wouldn't have moved your stop loss yet because it hasn't moved into profit. But
Mm-hmm.
as soon as it came down to this area, you can move your stop loss lower and lower as it moves with it. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to think of it as like a game of patience.
Right.
A lot of people don't see the bigger picture, and they want to move stop loss too close or too early, and then they end up getting stopped out.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, see, if you just looking at this here, this would have been, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 or 6, maybe 5 or 6 wins right here, which could have added up to 10 to 30 pips
Mm-hmm.
each trade. 10 on the smaller side, so like 10 times 6 trades would have been 60 pips there, if
Mm-hmm.
you're scalping it here and there.
Right.
um but yeah, I think that's it for that one. I don't know if there's a specific pair that you like to scalp that we can look over.
No, not yet. Mm-mm. I
Yeah.
stay away from NZD. I've had bad experiences with that one.
Oh yeah, the NZD and
Yeah.
A pairs, they're very tricky, uh,
Yeah.
especially the ones that are crossed with Euro and
Mm-hmm.
GBP.
Mm-hmm.
Those move so fast that you'll be in profit and then it'll just
Just disappear.
exactly, yeah, and you don't
Yep.
even know what happened.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you should probably just stick to, I would say, the major pairs. So probably stick with AUD USD,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Euro JPY,
Mm-hmm.
GBP USD. Basically anything matched with USD would be good. Aside
Okay.
from NZD USD, uh, this is I mean this is an okay pair, but
Okay.
I've had problems with this in the past. But I think
Mm-hmm.
more recently it's been moving a lot smoother. As you can see.
Okay.
But yeah, I would stick away from the Euro pairs that are matched with AUD and NZD because those are just too risky.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're very profitable, but you have to like really you have to
And
really
kind of zone
do it.
in and just focus on those alone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So is scalping, is that your favorite thing to do now, or are you moving toward?
Um, I think I'm moving more towards intraday trading.
Gotcha. Yeah. Scalping, it just
Yeah.
takes a lot of time. You have to be on the chart.
Yeah. So I actually don't mind that. And I find that I can pay a little more attention because I don't have to sit down and watch a 10 minute for the whole 10 minutes, just kind of watching it. At least with the intraday, I know it's going to swing back and forth, but I feel a little more relaxed with it.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's how I am too. That's why I
Yeah.
used to trade. I moved up actually. So I went from the 5 minute to the 10 minute to the
Hmm.
30 minute, and then now at this point, I don't even want to stare at the chart anymore. So I just go on the 4 hour because the 4 hour
Right.
closes, only like 6 times a day, and
Right.
we're only awake half of that time. So,
Hmm.
depending on what strategy you're applying, you could even apply the pivot strategy on the 4 hour, and you could be completely fine as well.
Okay.
It's just harder to find, entries
Right.
because the market's not going to be trending as often as it does on the lower time frames,
Hmm.
but they still do hit. So, if I was to go back over here, let me see. So there's one entry here. Same situation, price was trending down. We had the retracement right here, rejection up here, and then the sell signal. So if you had that, you could have entered a short position right here, put your
Hmm.
stop loss here. This is the problem too. If you're trading on the higher time frame, it's it's a lot more risk because
Right.
the movement is a lot higher.
Hmm.
So, 157 pips might seem like a lot, depending on your account size, but
Hmm.
you're trading stress from with
Yeah.
the more risk, but it still works very well here too. So same situation here.
Hmm.
Obviously this would have hit TP. Um, Again, right here, there's another entry for a sell. You can see price was trending down. Um, there was a retracement right here, so price came down, retracement right here, rejection right here, sell signal. The only problem with this is, so this is the same situation we just discussed with the scalping strategy. This might
Hmm.
be, it seems like a big risk because it's on the 4-hour chart, it's 80 pips, but technically, the swing would probably be either here or either here, because you kind of have
Hmm.
to, it seems like a lot, but you have to remember that you're trading on the higher time frame.
Right.
If you're doing this in equivalent to the 10-minute time frame, this would technically only be like 8 pips.
Hmm.
But if you're trading on the 4-hour, you're basically trading more risk for ease of mind when you're trading on the higher time frame. Because the
Okay.
thing is, if your stop loss was too close right here, I think it might have hit stop loss. So let's see. Let me just run it. Yeah, so it would have hit
Yep.
stop loss here. But if you had
Yeah.
your stop loss, up here,
You'd be fine. You hit
it'd be
TP.
fine. Yeah, because if you take this off, so, and then I'll just replay it over here. So the problem with this is that there's so many levels of swings. And that's why I was saying, with these pairs, the Euro pairs that are paired with GA, like
Mm.
GA, GN, EA, and EN, they're very erratic. They move around way too much. So the thing is,
Hmm.
this be considered a little too close. And if you look at the calls that I make usually for GBP, AUD, and basically these specific pairs, our stop loss is usually going to be 100 or over 100.
Right.
They move a lot faster than normal pairs. 100 pips is normal for a major pair like GU, EU, AU for those. But for these move like 3 times as fast. So you'd have to move it like way up here to avoid getting caught in these movements because these just move a little too erratic. But yeah, so if you had it over here
Hmm.
for 168 pips, you wouldn't have gotten stopped out right here because this is like a fake out here. This always happens with this specific pair because there's a huge discrepancy between the pound price and the AUD price. So they're able to push price very heavily. But if you're able to have your stop loss farther back, you would have hit TP.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
Okay.
the strategy works the same for pretty much any time frame. So like even right
Okay.
here, there's another sell there, another one right here. And you can see that this goes all the way, way back. So if you go back, this is August, you could have win here, another win here. This is July. So this actually goes back pretty far. Um, it's just, a matter of time because if you're following the trend, it'll eventually hit. It's just, how long are you willing to hold it for?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so this is probably a strategy that I would recommend that you stick to because it's very easy. I mean, there's
Hmm.
other strategies that you can apply to, like the K2SR strategy, uh,
Hmm.
the zone strategy, but generally this strategy will line up with the pivot strategy anyways. So let me see if there's an entry over here for the like maybe this one. So maybe not that one, maybe this one. Yeah, so technically, if you're trading the zone strategy, this would line up with it as well. Because, are you familiar with the zone strategy?
No.
Okay, so basically the zone strategy, what you're looking for is you're waiting for price to break a zone. So
Hmm.
you can see right here, uh, price was within this zone right here. So let me just take off the pivots because we don't use that for this strategy. But you can see right here, price came down and then it was inside the zone, right?
Hmm.
So once it breaks outside of the zone, if you get a
Hmm.
moment signal in that direction,
Hmm.
generally what happens is price moves from zone to zone.
Okay.
So price comes down, it gets stuck in the zone, it breaks out right here, and then we get a momentum
Oh.
signal, it goes to the next zone.
Hmm.
Same situation right here. It rejects off the zone. We get a sell signal. It pushes down to the next zone.
Okay.
And then there's another zone right here. So you can see that it's pretty consistent. It goes from this zone to this zone to here, it goes sideways for a little bit before it breaks the zone. And then you can like catch that again down.
Okay.
This one's a little more advanced, but it lines up with the pivots very often. So I think the pivots is probably the best strategy right now, especially with the current market conditions, because the market's moving very fast currently. And this strategy works perfectly when there's a lot of volatility in the market. So when the market's moving faster and there's a lot of momentum, this strategy works perfect. Like you can see here, it's it's pretty clear. When the momentum is going down, you just take every momentum sell in that direction. Like right here, you can take a a short position. Again, right here, you could have taken another one. And then again right here as well. And it's very simple because the requirements are so simple. It's just identify the trend, identify a rejection,
Right.
and then the signal after that, and that's pretty much it. And then you can pretty much just run that on literally any pair. I mean, you can just run through all these pairs here. It's pretty much the same thing. But yeah, you just have to realize that it's not 100%. Like there's going to be times where you're not going to.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think that's a problem with a lot of people too. A lot of people think that the strategies should be 100%. But if you run the numbers, obviously if you keep running it, all month, all year, you're going to end up in profit regardless, because the win ratio is very high if you're trading, with momentum and with the market. But yeah, I mean, it's just a long-term picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot just became clearer.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, it's just it's really patience and practice. Like it's easier for me to spot. I can just look at the chart and I can say, there's a buy here, there's a buy here, there's buys here. But for you, this is still brand new to you, so it's still it might take time for you to break down the requirements and everything like that. But with practice, it's like learning a new language. If you do this every single day and you practice, it'll become second nature as well.
Cool. Yeah, a lot just became clearer. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. I think this is what a lot of people need most of the time. They just need a one-on-one where I can break it down for them.
The spread thing, a couple other things you had mentioned, I'm like, okay, no, I get it. So yeah.
Yeah, the spread things, it's still very confusing to a lot of people. But once you get burned by that so many times, you start to realize that was a problem this whole time.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any other specific questions that you have or anything that you have trouble with? Because I can,
no,
yeah.
I think that's about it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. If you have any other questions, we can always hop on another call.
Okay, great.
Because I know you're going to run into issues that, you're new to trading. So you're going to run into new things here and there. And if there's anything you need some clarification on, or, any specifics, I can go ahead and help you with that. Because I'm pretty much, I think I run through all the issues already during my trading. So I'm pretty sure I've run into something that you're about to run into at some point.
Right. Okay. Cool. Thanks a million. You've been very, very approachable, which I really appreciate. You've been very helpful throughout the whole thing. So thank you very much.
Definitely, no problem. And I'll have this, I'll send you the link for this.
Yes.
So that, if you want to watch this again later,
definitely.
It'll help you remember what we just talked about.
Yeah. Please, 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 please.
Definitely. Okay, so I guess if that's it, I guess that'll be about it. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'll be in the chat.
Okay.
Or if you want to hop on a call again, maybe next week, if you run into things, feel free to just let me know.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, and have a great night. Well, it's morning or night for you?
It's night over here at 7 p.m.
Oh, it's the same time. Oh, okay.
I think you're about like 2 hours ahead, I think.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I'm looking at yours. Oh, I was looking at your screen. Yeah. Or 2 hours ahead. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Shawn. I really appreciate it.
All right, Karen. No problem.
All righty. Take care.
Thanks, you too.
All righty. Bye.